For 11 years, I placed the same white envelope in the mailbox on the first of every month. Inside was a money order for $200 made out to Patricia Hammond, my late husband's mother. No note, no letter, just the money order, folded once, tucked into the envelope with her address written in my careful handwriting. It had become as automatic as breathing, a ritual I performed without thinking, a debt I believed I could never fully repay. Welcome to Big Sky Storytime. I hope you will like this story. Before listening to the story, I request you that if you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and make the video a worthy one. Let's go to the story. My husband, Michael, died on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were his favorite day of the week, which always struck me as odd. Who has a favorite Tuesday? But Michael did. He said Mondays were too fresh with obligation, and Fridays were too eager for escape. But Tuesdays held possibility without pressure. He died on a Tuesday in April, when the dogwoods were blooming outside our bedroom window, their white petals like scattered tissues against the spring sky. He was 34 years old, I was 32. We'd been married for 6 years. The aneurysm took him while he slept. The doctors said he felt nothing, that he simply slipped from one kind of sleep into another. I found that impossible to believe then, and I find it impossible to believe now. How could the exodus of a soul be so quiet? How could someone so loud in life, Michael laughed like thunder, sang off-key in the shower, debated politics with the television, leave the world on a whisper? Patricia arrived at the hospital before they'd even moved his body. I don't know who called her. Perhaps I did, in those blank hours that trauma erases from memory. She swept into the waiting room like a weather system, all gray wool and trembling hands, and when she saw me, she didn't cry. She simply opened her arms, and I walked into them, and we stood there in the fluorescent buzz of institutional lighting, holding each other up. In the months that followed, Patricia became my anchor. She helped me sort through Michael's clothes, deciding what to donate and what to keep. She sat with me during the legal appointments, the insurance meetings, the endless paperwork that death generates. She held my hand at the funeral while I stared at the closed casket I'd insisted on closed, couldn't bear the thought of Michael's face made up like a department store mannequin, and didn't try to fill the silence with platitudes. It was Patricia who told me about the money. We were sitting in my kitchen 3 weeks after the funeral, drinking tea that neither of us wanted, when she mentioned it almost casually. "I don't know how I'm going to manage," she said, stirring her cup, though she'd added neither sugar nor milk. "Michael was helping me with the mortgage, has been for 2 years now." I set down my own cup carefully. "He never mentioned that." She asked me not to. She looked at me then, her eyes, so like Michael's, that same slate blue, filled with something between shame and defiance. "Patricia, I would never." "I know that now." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "But pride is a terrible thing, Sarah. It makes us stupid. After Robert left, after the divorce, I thought I could handle everything on my own. The house, the bills, everything. And I could, for a while. But then the company downsized, and my hours got cut. And suddenly I was 63 years old, trying to figure out how to keep my home." Michael had never told me. In 6 years of marriage, through all our discussions about money and budgets and dreams, he'd never once mentioned that he was sending his mother $200 every month. I felt a sharp spike of something. Betrayal? Hurt? That dissolved immediately into admiration. Of course he hadn't told me. That was Michael. He helped people quietly, without fanfare, the way some people breathe. "I'll take care of it," I heard myself say. Patricia shook her head. "No, absolutely not. That's not why I told you. I just wanted you to know in case he'd mentioned it and you wondered why I hadn't said anything." "I'll take care of it," I repeated, more firmly this time. "Michael would want me to. I want to." She cried then, finally, tears sliding down her lined cheeks. Just until I can figure something out, just for a few months. But a few months became a year, and a year became 5, and 5 became 11. Every month, on the 1st, I sent the money order. It became part of how I stayed connected to Michael, a way of honoring his memory that felt more real than visiting his grave or keeping his favorite mug in the cupboard. When I sent that money, I was continuing his work. I was being the person he believed I could be. The life insurance money helped at first. Michael's policy had been substantial. He'd been meticulous about that, always worried something might happen, always planning for contingencies. The irony wasn't lost on me. I used some of it to pay off our car, some to establish an emergency fund, and invested the rest conservatively. I went back to work 4 months after he died, returning to my job at the architectural firm where I was a junior project manager. My colleagues treated me like I was made of spun glass, speaking in soft voices, avoiding any mention of death or loss, or even permanence. I hated it and was grateful for it in equal measure. I moved through those first years in a fog of functionality. I went to work, I came home, I sent the money to Patricia. I called her once a week, usually on Sunday evenings, and we talked about small things: her garden, my projects, the neighbors, the weather. We never talked about Michael directly, but he was present in every conversation, the ghost at every table. I didn't date. Friends tried to set me up, gently suggesting that Michael would want me to be happy, to move on and find love again. I smiled and changed the subject. The truth was, I didn't want to date. I didn't want to sit across from someone at dinner and pretend to be interested in their stories, their lives, their potential. I was married. The fact that my husband was dead seemed in some fundamental way beside the point. But time, as everyone kept reminding me, does its work whether we consent or not. The sharp edges of grief softened into something more manageable. Not acceptance exactly, but a kind of accommodation. I learned to sleep through the night. I stopped crying in the grocery store when I accidentally bought Michael's favorite cereal. I got a promotion at work, then another. I bought new furniture and repainted the bedroom. I made new friends and traveled to places Michael and I had planned to visit together. I lived. And every month, I sent the money to Patricia. Year 8 arrived, and then year 9. Patricia retired from her job at the library where she'd worked for 30 years. We talked about her starting to collect Social Security, about whether she should downsize from the house, about her sister's health. She never asked me to stop sending the money, and I never offered to stop. It had become part of the architecture of our relationship, a load-bearing wall we'd built together. Then came year 11. It was a Thursday in October when the envelope came back. I was sorting through the mail after work, still in my blazer and heels, when I saw it. My own handwriting staring back at me. The envelope stamped "Return to sender," unable to forward. My heart clenched. Had Patricia moved without telling me? Was she sick? Why hadn't she called? I tried her phone number immediately. Disconnected. A cold feeling spread through my chest. I called her sister, Janet, whose number I had saved for emergencies. Janet answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello?" "Janet, it's Sarah, Michael's wife. I'm trying to reach Patricia and—" "Oh, honey." Janet's voice went soft. "You haven't heard?" The cold feeling crystallized into ice. "Heard what? Is she okay?" "She's fine. She got married about 6 months ago, sold the house and moved to Arizona with her new husband. I thought she would have told you." I sat down heavily on my couch. Married? To a man she met at her book club, if you can believe it. It was quite the whirlwind. They dated for about 4 months, and then he proposed, and she sold the house within 3 weeks. She seemed so happy, Sarah. Happiest I've seen her in years. I managed to get through the rest of the conversation on autopilot, getting Patricia's new address, her new phone number, congratulating Janet on her sister's happiness. When I hung up, I sat there in the dimming light of my living room, the returned envelope in my hands, and felt something I hadn't felt in 11 years. Anger. Not that she'd gotten married, I was happy for her, truly, but that she hadn't told me that for 6 months I'd been sending money to an empty house, to a woman who apparently no longer needed it, that our weekly phone calls had stopped months ago, and I'd assumed she was just busy, just dealing with her own life, when in reality she'd packed up an entire existence and moved across the country without saying a word. I tried her new number. It rang 4 times before going to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. What would I even say? Instead, I did what I should have done years ago. I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out every bank statement from the past 11 years. I made a spreadsheet. I was an architect after all. I worked in precise lines and careful calculations. I added up every money order, every stamp, every envelope. The total came to $26,400. $26,400 sent to a woman who was apparently perfectly fine without it. The anger built slowly, like a storm gathering strength. I felt betrayed, used, stupid. All those years of scraping together that $200 every month, of sometimes eating pasta 3 nights in a row to make sure I could send it, of turning down trips with friends because I had to be careful with money, because I had obligations, because I'd made a promise. I waited until the weekend to call again. This time, she answered. "Sarah!" Patricia's voice was bright, cheerful. "I was just thinking about you." "Were you?" My voice came out flat. A pause. "Is everything okay?" "My envelope came back, the money order I sent to your old address." Another pause, longer this time. "Oh, yes, I've been meaning to call you about that." "Have you?" "Sarah, I'm sorry. Things have been so hectic with the move, and Dennis, that's my husband, we've been getting settled, and You got married 6 months ago." "Yes, I know I should have told you sooner, but I've been sending you money for 6 months that you apparently don't need anymore, that you haven't needed, since you met this man, since you decided to sell your house? Now, Sarah, that's not fair." Something in me snapped. "Not fair? Patricia, I've been sending you $200 every month for 11 years. 11 years. Do you know what that adds up to? Over $26,000. And you couldn't pick up the phone to tell me you'd gotten married, that you'd moved, that you didn't need it anymore? I was going to tell you, I didn't know how. You'd been so generous for so long, and I didn't want you to think I was ungrateful." "Ungrateful?" I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Patricia, I don't care about gratitude. I care about basic respect, about communication. We talked every week for years, and then you just disappeared. And I kept sending money to an empty house, like an idiot." "You're not an idiot." Her voice had gone small. "You're one of the most generous people I've ever known, and I'm sorry. You're right. I should have told you. I should have called as soon as Dennis and I started getting serious. There are a lot of things I should have done differently." I closed my eyes. The anger was still there, but beneath it was something else. Hurt, disappointment, a sense of loss that had nothing to do with money. "Why didn't you?" I asked quietly. "Why didn't you just tell me?" A long silence, then, "Because I was ashamed." "Of what?" "Of being happy," her voice cracked. "Of moving on. Of selling the house that Michael grew up in, the house where he learned to ride a bike and had his first kiss, and I sold all of that, Sarah. I packed it up and left it behind, and I moved to Arizona with a man I barely know, and I'm happy. I'm so happy, and I felt like I didn't deserve to be." I understood then. Of course I did. Because wasn't that the guilt we both carried? The survivor's guilt that came with continuing to live, to laugh, to find joy in a world that no longer contained the person we'd lost. "Michael would want you to be happy," I said. I know he would. But knowing something and feeling it are different things. And every time I thought about calling you, about telling you, I imagined your voice on the other end of the line, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't bear to hear you being happy for me when I knew you were still alone. "I'm not alone," I said automatically. "Aren't you?" The question hung between us, and the truth was I didn't know how to answer it. Because yes, I had friends, I had work, I had a full life by most measures, but I was also 36 years old and sleeping in a bed I'd once shared with my husband, sending money every month to his mother like some kind of penance, living a half-life in the margins of my own existence. "I don't know," I admitted finally. "Oh, honey," Patricia's voice was thick with tears. "I'm so sorry for all of it. For not being braver, for not calling, for letting you keep sending money when I didn't need it anymore, when I haven't needed it for a long time." "How long?" "What? How long haven't you needed it?" Another silence. Then, "About 3 years, maybe 4. I felt like I'd been punched. 4 years? My hours got increased at the library. I got a small inheritance from my aunt. Things got better, and I kept meaning to tell you, but then it became this thing between us, this connection, and I was afraid if I told you to stop sending the money, we'd lose that. We'd lose each other. And I couldn't. Sarah, you're all I have left of Michael. You and those phone calls, and yes, those envelopes. I know it was selfish. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't let go." I was crying now, tears streaming down my face, because I understood. God help me, I understood completely. The money had never really been about the money. It had been about maintaining a connection, about having a reason to think of Patricia, to remember Michael, to keep that part of my life alive. "I need some time," I said. "Of course, I understand. I don't know if I can. I need to think. Take all the time you need. And Sarah, I really am sorry." I hung up without saying goodbye. The next few weeks were strange. I kept reaching for the checkbook on the first of the month, kept finding myself at the post office before remembering I had nowhere to send the envelope. The ritual had been so ingrained that its absence felt like a phantom limb, a missing piece I kept trying to use. I threw myself into work. I took on extra projects, stayed late at the office, volunteered to travel to client sites, anything to avoid sitting in my empty house with my thoughts. But thoughts, I discovered, are remarkably portable. They followed me to Seattle and Chicago and Houston, sitting beside me on airplanes, waiting in hotel rooms. I thought about Michael. Not the grief-stricken, raw thoughts of the early years, but something different. I tried to remember what he'd actually been like, beyond my canonized memories. He'd been stubborn. He'd left dishes in the sink and forgot to call when he was running late. He'd been terrible with money, actually, spending impulsively and then panicking about bills. He'd been human, flawed, real. And he'd been helping his mother without telling me. Was that admirable, or was it a betrayal of the partnership we'd claimed to have? If I was honest, it stung. But it also made me wonder what else I didn't know. What other small kindnesses or secret struggles he'd kept to himself. I thought about Patricia, too. About her shame and her fear and her selfish, understandable desire to maintain our connection. About how she'd clung to those envelopes the way I'd clung to sending them. Both of us using money as a proxy for something we couldn't name. And I thought about myself. About the woman I'd been at 32, newly widowed and desperate to honor her husband's memory. About the woman I'd become at 43, still sending envelopes like prayers to a God I wasn't sure I believed in anymore. It was my therapist. Yes, I'd finally started seeing a therapist, 11 years too late, who asked the question that changed everything. "What are you mourning?" Dr. Chen asked. "Right now, in this moment, what is it you're actually grieving?" I'd been talking about Patricia, about the money, about feeling betrayed and used and stupid. And Dr. Chen just sat there, patient as always, waiting for me to get to the real answer. I'm mourning... I stopped, started again. I'm mourning the version of myself that needed to send that money. The version that believed if I just kept doing this one thing, I could keep Michael alive somehow, keep our marriage alive, keep that part of myself alive. And without sending the money, Dr. Chen asked, without sending the money, I'm just a woman whose husband died years ago. I'm just someone who's been standing still while everyone else moved forward. Dr. Chen leaned forward. Is that really what you've been doing? Standing still? I thought about my promotions, my travels, my new furniture and repainted bedroom, my full life that I'd been too guilty to fully inhabit. No, I admitted. I guess not. So what would it look like to stop sending the money and also stop punishing yourself for moving forward? I didn't have an answer. Not then. It took another month before I called Patricia back. When she answered, her voice was cautious, hopeful. Sarah? Hi. I'm so glad you called. How are you? I'm okay. I've been thinking a lot. Me too. I'm not going to send the money anymore, I said. I think you know that.
I know. I don't want you to. I never should have accepted it for as long as I did. But I want to stay in touch. I want to know about your life in Arizona, about Dennis, about your new house. I want us to figure out how to be in each other's lives in a way that's not about Michael, or not only about Michael. I could hear Patricia crying softly. I'd like that. I'd like that so much. And I need you to tell me if I start doing that thing again. That thing where I try to honor Michael by sacrificing myself, where I make his memory more important than my actual life. Only if you promise to call me out when I do the same thing. Deal. We talked for 2 hours that night. Really talked. In a way we hadn't in years. She told me about Dennis, about how they'd met at a book club discussion of The Great Gatsby, about how he'd asked her to coffee and she'd said yes on impulse, surprising herself, about how falling in love at 69 felt both exactly like and nothing like falling in love at 23, about how she'd been terrified to sell the house, but also liberated by it, how Arizona was hot but beautiful, how she was learning to paint. I told her about my work, about the projects I'd been leading, about my promotion to senior project manager, about my therapist and what we'd been discussing, about how I'd been thinking about dating but didn't know how to start, didn't know how to introduce myself as someone whose defining characteristic for so long had been widow. You're not just Michael's widow, Patricia said firmly. You never were. You're Sarah. You're brilliant and kind and loyal to a fault, and any man would be lucky to know you. Michael thought so. I think so. And you should think so too. After we hung up, I went to my filing cabinet and pulled out that spreadsheet. $26,400. For 11 years, I'd thought of that number as an investment in Michael's memory, a debt I owed to his family, a penance for the sin of surviving. But maybe it was something else entirely. Maybe it was tuition for a class I'd needed to take, a course in grief and guilt and the complicated calculus of moving forward. Maybe it was the price I'd paid to learn that love doesn't require sacrifice, that honoring the dead doesn't mean joining them in stasis, that life insists on continuing, whether we give it permission or not. I deleted the spreadsheet. Then I opened my calendar and looked at the first of the month. The date sat there, blank now, freed from its ritual. I thought about what to do with that space, that time, that $200. And then I booked a trip to Arizona to visit Patricia and meet Dennis, to see her new life, and maybe, in the process, to start fully living my own. The thing about grief is that it never really ends. It just changes shape.
becomes something you carry differently. For 11 years, I'd carried it in those white envelopes, in that monthly ritual, in the belief that as long as I kept sending the money, I was still Michael's wife. But marriage, I've learned, isn't about joint bank accounts or shared addresses or even shared lives. It's about the ways people change each other, the marks they leave, the person you become because they existed. Michael made me braver. He made me kinder. He made me believe I was capable of more than I thought. And somewhere along the way, in those 11 years of envelopes and grief and grudging growth, I'd actually become that person. Not because I was sending money to his mother, but because I was willing to love someone enough to try. The envelope that came back wasn't an ending, it was an invitation to stop performing grief and start living joy, to honor Michael by being fully alive, to understand that the best way to remember someone isn't to freeze yourself in amber at the moment of their death, but to become the person they always believed you could be. I still think about Michael every day, but now, instead of sadness, I mostly feel gratitude. Gratitude for the 6 years we had. Gratitude for what he taught me. Gratitude for Patricia, who loved us both enough to finally tell me the truth. And gratitude for that returned envelope, which taught me the most important lesson of all, that sometimes the greatest act of love is knowing when to stop, when to let go, when to redirect that energy toward the life you're actually living instead of the one you've lost. On the 1st of next month, I won't send an envelope to Patricia. I'll send her a postcard instead, from wherever I happen to be. And with the $200 I would have sent, I'll do something Michael would have loved. Maybe I'll donate it. Maybe I'll save it. Maybe I'll spend it on something frivolous and beautiful. Maybe I'll finally take that pottery class I've been thinking about. Maybe I'll say yes to the date my colleague has been hinting at. Maybe I'll just sit in a coffee shop on a Tuesday afternoon and remember that Tuesdays hold possibility without pressure, and that being alive means embracing both. The money was never really the point, but I had to send it for 11 years to figure that out. Did you like the story? And which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you like the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. Don't forget to subscribe.